So Tara, whenever you're ready, we'll start the meeting.
You guys are good to go.
Awesome. All right. Welcome everybody to the first Joint Homeless Subcommittee meeting. Today is Thursday, August 27th, 2020. The time is 3:14 p.m. The first item of business on today's agenda is the swearing in of subcommittee members, and I will turn the meeting over to Laura Campagnolo, our Deputy City Clerk, for that.
Good afternoon. You should have all received the oath of office that I sent you earlier today. So we'll just quickly, I'll issue the oath to you. You'll sign the paper that I sent, return it back to me either via mail, email, whichever's easiest. So we'll just do this all at the same time. Go ahead, raise your right hand, and then just repeat after me. I state your name.
I, William Ewing,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that
I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against
all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of invasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge
the
the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
All right, you're sworn in. Go ahead and continue on with the meeting. Send me your signed oath of office, and you guys get in touch with me if you need anything. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Laura.
right, take care. Bye.
Thank you, Laura. All right. The next item on our agenda is I believe it's the Pledge of Allegiance. Do we have any volunteers that would like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? If not, I'm fine doing it myself.
Go for it, Adam.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of
The flag
the United States of America,
of the States of America,
the republic on which I
stands
under God,
God,
indivisible,
visible,
with liberty and
liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
That's always hard to get together.
We weren't very good at the unison.
Yeah. Press the unison button there.
Okay, the fourth item on our agenda today is the roll call. Committee member, let's see, in alphabetical order. Committee member, subcommittee member Bowden.
Here.
Subcommittee member Ewing.
Here?
Subcommittee member Leffler.
Here.
And subcommittee member Walsh.
Here.
All right. Today we have two special orders of business on the calendar. The first one is the nomination and selection of the Joint Homeless Subcommittee Chair and Vice Chair. And I'll just say it here, we also have another item for the consideration and selection of the Joint Homeless Subcommittee's next special meeting date and time. I would recommend that item B, the selection of the next meeting date and time, be postponed till later in this meeting's agenda after the discussion about the work plan. That will better inform how soon the subcommittee should meet again. So I will leave it up to the committee members to discuss and select a chair and vice chair at this time.
I'd like to nominate Rick Leffler for chair.
Kyle, I really appreciate that, and can I make a comment on that, and maybe it'll kind of bring everybody together here on this. I respect that, and I would like to make another nomination, and I'll explain why. And I'd like to nominate Gary Walsh as the chair. and the reason why is purely for optics. I've been known in this town as somebody that's diligently interested in the homeless situation, and sometimes perceived as somebody that just, wants to somehow manage them and not deal with them on a personal level. That's not who I am. I am compassionate, but Gary has dealt with homeless people his whole career. He's a firefighter. I know him as somebody that's very even-mannered on this. And like I say, it's purely for optics. I know, and I can tell you from the Public Safety Committee and maybe from the Human Affairs Committee too, that the chair is important. We need to have a chair, but everybody jumps in and does their part and leads. And I think this committee, I've spoken to Tyler. I know Gary. Bill, I know I'm going to get to know you. I think that's going to happen here. But I think for me, I think that actually for the best person for this job would be Gary Walsh. And I hope you guys all concur. He's a really good guy and really experienced in this.
I can support that, Rick, and I'll rescind my nomination and I'll second your nomination of Gary for chair.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, so it sounds like we have a nomination and a second. Because this is an ad hoc committee, and because this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom, all votes by a committee or subcommittee need to be done by roll call. So I'll do a roll call of everybody, say yay or nay. Committee member Bowden.
Aye.
Subcommittee member Ewing.
Aye.
Subcommittee member Leffler.
Aye.
And subcommittee member Walsh.
I'll abstain.
Oh, go ahead, vote for yourself. That's good.
It's okay.
All right, so that's a 3-0 to 1 vote with subcommittee, now Chair Walsh abstaining. All right, next is the Vice Chair.
I'd like to nominate Bill Ewing for vice chair.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, subcommittee member Bowden.
Aye.
Subcommittee member Ewing.
Aye, I'll vote for myself. That's all right.
Subcommittee member Leffler.
Aye.
And Chair Walsh.
Aye.
All right, so that passes 4-0. All right, so at this point, I'm going to ask the chair how you would like to run the meetings. You can run the agenda yourself by reading through it, going through it, or you can defer some of the more administrative tasks of reading through the agenda to me, and I'm more than happy to do that. It's however you want to do it is fine.
I think I would prefer to have you run through the agenda, and I think that would be easier right now, and maybe in the future I'd change my mind.
Yeah.
All right. Well, until future direction is received, I'll help assist going through the agenda. All right. So is everybody okay with deferring the consideration and selection of the next meeting date and time to later in the agenda?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right, the next item on our agenda is minutes. This is the first meeting, so there are no previous minutes to approve. The next item is oral and written communication. Members of the public who wish to provide comments, let me pull this here, who wish to provide comments to the Joint Homeless Subcommittee on matters that are within the jurisdiction of the City of San Clemente, but not separately listed on the agenda, may email their comments to city staff. The city staff's email is listed on the agenda that's published on the city's website for reading during the oral communications portion of the agenda. Transmittal by 3 p.m. on Joint Homeless Subcommittee meeting days is recommended. Emails will be read publicly at the meeting up to the allotted time of 3 minutes per person. And today we have 3 such
Such letters, yeah.
There's 3 such letters.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The first is states. Dear members of the Homeless Task Force, thanks for taking the time to address an ongoing issue in San Clemente. To be blunt, San Clemente residents in large part hope that you set a limited reach with this task force. Like many people, I've been a supporter of FAM to the point of donating and continuing my support through the Elks Lodge as a trustee. But when AB 109, Prop 47, and 57 took effect, family assistance ministries seemed to turn into addict assistant ministries. The money from the government that was used for families in need also has had strings attached. Anyone could get it, which meant addicts camped out Pico Canyon simply to be close to FAM. Drug addicts taken to Orange County Jail started using FAM as their home address dozens of times. This is an example of the law of unintended consequences. Organizations like FAM attract people, and yet we have no infrastructure to help the mentally ill. We have no infrastructure for the addicted or for those using street drugs to address their mental illness. What was a benefit to the community has become a harm. What was meant to help families is now attracting addicts from all over Orange County and even sober home dropouts from other states. And frankly, California has put up a barrier through the Lanterman-Petrus Short Act to actually be able to prevent these people from harming themselves. Is tragic. The residents of San Clemente want to help, but the safety of our families in town is paramount. Please make this your main priority with the task force, as it's the priority for all the families in San Clemente. Sincerely, Cord Bauer. All right, the second.
Hey, Adam,
Yes.
can I just ask you to repeat that it was AB 107, AB 47, right? I just want to get the numbers right when I.
Yes, that letter was referencing. It was AB 109,
109.
Props 47 and 57.
And what was the act he referenced? There's something Petrie Act?
Lanterman.
Yeah, the Lanterman-Petrus Short Act.
Lanterman what now?
Lanterman-Petrus. Petris.
Okay, Petrus Act. Okay. Thank you.
The next letter. All right. The next letter comes from somebody who wished to remain anonymous. Hello. Thank you for your time, taking the time to read my email. I'm sorry. I am aware there is a tremendous amount of work to be done in our small Spanish village by the sea in regards to our homeless population, and for that I am thankful all of you have taken an interest in addressing this situation. I am a 38-year resident of San Clemente and live on the southeast portion of town near the golf course and open buffer zone between our city and Camp Pendleton, Trestles. The homeless population in our portion of town is different and similar from what you see near the train station of North Beach. I am writing to ask that while you work towards common goals of our community, you not forget the area managed by the California State Parks. I understand the city and state are two different agencies, but I do believe we have common goals as a community and society. Therefore, I hope you can work closely with the state rangers. The bushes and open space on the south end of town are running rampant with encampments, drug paraphernalia, trash, and human waste. I repeat my thanks for your time in reading this, and I wish this committee the best of luck in accomplishing the goals you deem most important to San Clemente. Please just don't forget us on the south end of town and the state park system.
Very good.
And the last one, let's see. Okay. This letter also, person who submitted it wished to remain anonymous. Dear San Clemente homeless team, I'm not an expert on homelessness, but I do have a lot of personal experience with alcohol and drug addiction. My wife and I worked tirelessly for 5 years to get one of our family members on a path that they ultimately agreed to, which was to be alcohol and drug free. It took lots of love, tears, and tough days and nights to get us there. I can't imagine how the people I see every day on North Beach can or will come to that realization without a tremendous amount of help. I have lived by North Beach for 3 years, and based on my daily observation, I'm thinking that a good part of the homeless folks I see on North Beach have an addiction or mental health problem. I literally watch them stagger around, scream in the air, go to the bathroom in public, in parentheses, in front of my granddaughter once, in parentheses, and get high on a daily basis. So with all that in mind, I think we need to deal with addiction and mental illness as a part of addressing homelessness. I do not support PSH, which is permanent supportive housing. I do support reaching out and working to convince people to get help and help themselves. I think as part of that, we need to have counselors to reach out to these folks and try to encourage them to participate in mental health and addiction support programs that we support. I think CityNet does that, but I have yet to see a credible report from them on their metrics. I think the metrics are supposed to be part of a $130,000 contract with them. Looking forward to seeing how many people they approach and ultimately help. Along with that, we need to make sure we patrol and enforce the few rules we do have in areas where homeless routinely gather. If we are not consistent with our approach in that regard, the homeless I have seen on a daily basis will stay comfortably high or mentally ill on North Beach as well as other locations in our beautiful town. I look forward to your team working on this, and I'm willing to volunteer as needed. Please let me know how I can help. We are only one bad decision away from being like Los Angeles or San Francisco, so I'm hoping we make good decisions as a community on this. Thanks for caring about San Clemente. And that is all I have for the public communications.
Adam,
Yes.
did you send the committee members Michelle Alexander's letter?
I did.
Okay, because I mean, I know because I spoke to her. She wanted that first email to you to be on record. I just texted her to see if, to verify that for you. Maybe if she texts me back, maybe we could read it at later in the meeting. But I just want to make sure the committee members read her letter. She's a passionate, longtime resident, business owner, mother, who's been involved in this homeless issue for quite a while. She's spoken several times in front of the Orange County Board of Supervisors. I think she's kind of the poster person for concerned citizen in this. So I just want to make sure that all the other committee members read her email. It was very compelling, and I think speaks the tone of many of our residents.
So that letter, just for clarification, when I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted it read into the oral communications portion of the meeting, she said that as long as it was received by the other committee members, it wasn't necessary to read into the oral communications. However, just so the committee's aware, letters such as that to committee members are public record. And so at another point in the meeting, if you would like to read that public record out loud, you're more than welcome to do so. Later in the meeting, I think during the committee and staff report section, you could read that. I'm also fully willing to read her letter. I just would prefer to have her acknowledge that she would like it read during oral communications. That's just so that we keep the process intact here.
Yeah, and I think there's still a little confusion with this Zoom thing, how people do make public comments at these meetings, who they actually email it to and how it gets designated. I think that's probably the major issue there.
Absolutely, and I'm more than happy to do whatever the committee would like to in terms of providing information to the public about reiterating our process for submitting public comments during oral communications.
Can we have her? Excuse me. Can we have her name again? I'm not sure I got the letter, but what are we looking for in terms of a name?
It was from Michelle Alexander, and she's the owner of Rascals Gals, a boutique downtown.
Okay.
I can confirm that I received the letter and read it. It was well received.
Thanks,
Yeah, the same. I read it.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay. Subcommittee member, Vice Chair Ewing, if you have any difficulty finding that email, it would have come, I forwarded that email, but if you have any problems finding it, let me know and I will make sure
Thank you.
receive it in a fashion.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda, we have reviews and recommendations. At this point, there's nothing on the agenda for that. The next item, business, is under new business, and that is item A, consideration and development of Joint Homeless Subcommittee of the Joint Homeless Subcommittee's work plan. This item is to review and discuss by the subcommittee the subcommittee's work plan related to council's direction for such to be submitted no later than October 1st, 2020. And at this point, I will turn the meeting over to the subcommittee members. If you need any information, please let me know.
But for me, I'm interested in what the direction the city council wants us to take with this. So that would be, you know, in order to devise a work plan, kind of have to know what the goals they want us to achieve.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think it would be good if we all had the same correspondence or memo or whatever it is that really established this group and what they see as the purpose, just so we're all singing from the same hymnal here.
Yeah, I think I would probably say, just in having been on a committee, for the past couple of years, the direction doesn't always necessarily come from council as to what it is exactly we should be doing, and in many ways it's intrinsic to our membership, and so what we want to propose to the council to be able to do and work on over the next year. And so my recommendation to the subcommittee would be to just voice what it is that we would like to accomplish in this. And I certainly have some ideas, and I think all of us do. And so we could, kind of the inverse of receiving input from the council, we can just give our input to the council as in the form of this work plan, and if they approve it, then we can get to work on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to second Tyler's comments. I know when Dan and Laura were the predominant people that wanted the Public Safety Committee, and the Homeless Subcommittee started immediately. If you've noticed, all the other committees have been put on hold, but they really thought that these two were important, and I think they put the people on these committees that they could trust to identify and address issues, and that's why they picked the people that they did. So I think Tyler hit it right on the head.
Okay, that's good. Okay, Tyler, let's start with you then.
Okay.
Tell us what you think, what directions we should be going, what we should be doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. And I think that, well, first of all, I'm just super glad to be on this subcommittee, and I think it's a really interesting and unique and valuable balance of human affairs and public safety. And I think what we'll be able to do is kind of bring those aspects of the city together into one concerted effort in addressing homelessness. And the third thing, and this is kind of what I want to bring up first, is the community, because obviously the four of us don't represent the entire community. And so my thought is, as part of the work plan, we could have a couple of us, so we're not violating Brown Act, have a couple of us work on forming a community coalition to address homelessness. And it'd be a coalition that could meet with whoever in the community is interested, whoever wants to learn more or participate in the process at whatever frequency we determine, to just gain feedback from residents on their priorities as it pertains to homelessness. I think that'll allow us to get a lot of feedback and use that to bring to our meetings as we're looking at the other aspects and facets of addressing homelessness. So I'd say one item of work plan, forming a community coalition and meeting somewhat regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an outstanding idea. I mean, a lot of this homeless committee is based on optics, and to give the community the feeling that they have an entity that's really working on this consistently with their input. And that's always been a complaint of the public, like it is anywhere, is their public officials don't hear what they're saying. And the council's got a lot of things to deal with, not just this homeless issue. So I think this is really going to be good to get the public involved in this. Just the fact that they feel that somebody's listening to them is going to be a huge improvement.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the community is going to have to buy in because the solutions, this is a multi-headed thing, this homeless, and the community is going to have to be able to buy in into participating in and committing resources and such to solving this. So
I think we've done a little preliminary work on the question of who should participate in such a thing, and perhaps Tyler and I can take a first shot at putting a list together of who the participants might be and then submitting it to the larger committee for everybody's buy-in and review. What do you think of that?
Sounds good to me.
We've got to start on that one anyway.
Sure.
yeah,
Tyler?
I'd be open to that. Yeah, absolutely. Love to work on it.
are we going to try to put that out like in the San Clemente Times or something that we're looking for people willing to volunteer for that coalition? Would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could get a Continental Congress out of this thing if we're not careful. So it might be good to get a starter list together. I don't know if you open it up too much, you're liable to find 60 or 70 people. I'm not sure that would be helpful.
Subcommittee members, just some input. At this point in the development of the work plan, we should just work on the conceptual idea. If you would like to open this up and discuss how, like, the actual mechanics of it, those details might be a little bit more advanced than what I think the City Council needs in a work plan proposal. But all of that, those finer details about implementation, I think, can come after the council approves the basic idea.
Yeah, I think maybe Bill and Tyler get together and start working on that aspect of the work plan, this public coalition. Just start putting something together, the blurb that will go in the work plan. And yeah, Adam's right. We've got to submit it, and then when the council gives its blessing, then we can go and figure out exactly how to do that, whether it's however it is.
Mhm.
But also, I think Tyler had some ideas. But besides just a coalition, we talked about a possible some forums or something also.
Yeah, and I'd be very interested in that, and I know that the Public Safety Committee, you guys in your first meeting had discussed having community forums, and the Human Affairs Committee also has that as part of our charge. And so I thought that this could be a fitting opportunity for us to use this joint subcommittee to put on a forum. Now, the purpose of the forum, in my mind, would be to get feedback from the community on the priorities. About how to address homelessness, and a community coalition could serve much of the same purpose. And so, I'm kind of open to feedback on which is preferable, what would be a better way to go about it. Maybe we start with one and continue on with the other, do both at the same time. I'm kind of open to that. I think just getting community feedback is the number one purpose,
Okay, so that's one item in there. How about analyzing what we're doing, the efficacy of what we're doing, and what other cities are doing?
Yeah, I had a thought, and it's kind of expanding on what you just said. I'd like to compile the stats from FAN and CityNet and anybody else that we pay any money to maybe look at the effectiveness, their overall effectiveness. I know when FAM and CityNet come to city council meetings to give their reports, I remember one of the accomplishments is that we drove the homeless 7,000. We put in 7,000 miles of driving homeless. But what they didn't say is, where were they driving them to? I mean, I'd like to know, are they taking them to hospitals? Are they taking them to drug rehab? Are they taking them to a housing unit, a shelter, or are they just driving them from one town to another because they want to get from one side of the town to the other, which is fine. But I'd like some more specific details on what they are actually doing. And I just think and I know a lot of people in the audience at that council meeting were saying the same. They were shaking their head, and the council, I think, even directed FAM at one point to be more precise. And then COVID hit, and all this went away. So I think that would be good. And in concert with that, maybe look at what other cities are doing for their, who they have working in their city, what their expectations are. I would say predominantly Dana Point, San Juan, our real sister cities, and then compiling that together also. I think that might be one good faction of the work plan.
Yeah, that's great. If I could add, I think that there's kind of three things that we could even highlight as part of our work plan from this. We could have homeless services as one aspect. So getting feedback from all homeless services that are offered from the organizations directly to this committee, so that we can gain all that information and sort of perceive of it as we do, or do with it what we will. So services, public safety, I think, could be another one that we can receive information from and disseminate through this committee. And then other cities, we could have a third thing that's just kind of a general reaching out to neighboring cities or other cities in South County to see what they're doing. It seems like those three things would all be really valuable to add on to the community feedback that we're getting.
Would you see this as a kind of a public presentation on these people's part, or would you?
Yes.
Would you want to make it? I mean, to have us kind of consolidate everything will take a lot of time.
That's a good point, Bill. And I think I know that the Public Safety Committee has Lieutenant Manhart as part of the committee, and so it's accessible to that committee. And there's maybe even some information that you could grab from that to bring to these meetings as it pertains directly to homelessness. With the Human Affairs Committee, we have various nonprofits and organizations that come into our meetings to give us presentations. I think that we could probably mimic that format in some ways and have individuals from OCSD, maybe Deputy Duran, come in and speak to us, give a presentation. Maybe somebody from FAM, somebody from CityNet come in and give a presentation. We don't want to have too many meetings. I think we should be very respectful of staff time and all people's times as far as that goes. But I think that this is really like a focal point where we can be the source of input for information to then compile it and make recommendations to the council.
Yeah, and maybe, I suppose, compiling that information, it was probably the wrong term. Maybe we could ask those entities to come up with, when they give their reports, to add these to their criteria, to compartmentalize. I'm sure they would do it. I don't think it's, a big deal on their part. They just have never been asked to. Well, they were asked, but like I say, then I don't think we haven't had too many meetings with the homeless advocates at City Council recently. So,
right. Well, I wonder if we shouldn't have another town hall meeting to kind of get a baseline established so that the community is all hearing about these places and what they're doing at the same time. Because we did this, about 2 years ago, Tyler? And I think it was well regarded, and I think Dan kind of took the lead. Yeah,
we did, and it was very informative, largely based on just policy.
So we might,
related to homelessness. And
we might have 6 or 7 presentations, as long as they're kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's happened and where we go from here. And then at the end of that last town hall meeting, we gave people the chance to ask whatever questions they wanted by writing out a question, and then we had somebody from a panel kind of respond to it. FAM was there, the chief was there. That was quite good. So it might be good as part of our plan to kind of have this, one of the first things we do, a community forum or event.
Adam, can I ask you a quick question on this?
Absolutely.
Would it be appropriate that we communicate with the council? I mean, I talk to Jean a lot and Laura a lot and Kathy occasionally, and throw this out that we think it would be beneficial to help start this homeless subcommittee, that we do a town hall. I mean, certainly with their blessing, and without going through an entire work plan and waiting 2 months to submit it to them. Would it be appropriate just to a recommendation from this subcommittee that we do have a town hall that is going to help us develop our work plan?
I think that the idea of having a town hall or community forums is a great idea, but I don't think it's necessary that that should occur before a work plan is submitted to the council. I know that the council would like a work plan by October 1st to review, and I understand that this is August 27th, and at times, it's a little bit tight. However, I've been jotting down the ideas that the subcommittee has been coming up with, and I think at this point it's better if we keep things at a kind of a 30,000 foot level, and seek direction from the council on a number of items. And I'll throw out some examples. We had like a community coalition, which essentially is, to me, sounds like establishing a stakeholders group for the homeless issue. There's nothing in the work plan that says what exactly will be solved by having a community coalition developed. But let's ask the council if they want us to do that. At the same time, if we ask as a separate work plan item, if for the second note that I had was for the community forums to help inform the work that the subcommittee is doing. I think it would be most beneficial to get as much direction from the council as part of a singular ask as possible, and keeping it at a more abstract level, rather than dialing into the specific things that we're going to do to solve homelessness, per se. Another item here was performance measure review, was essentially performance measure review. That's something that could and I believe it makes sense to be in a work plan. Let's find out now if the council wants this subcommittee to be doing that. Ultimately there is going to be some big work product that comes out of this subcommittee. The work plan may need to be adapted to fit what comes from the community input later on. But I think that the subcommittee should have everything that it needs right now to formulate a general process moving forward, rather than getting stuck on, well, we don't know what the community wants. I don't think we need that information just yet. I think it's most appropriate to simply identify a process that this subcommittee is comfortable with, going through that work to identify how to solve this problem for the community. Now, with that, I will say there were some questions earlier about what was the direction about this subcommittee from council. And essentially it all boils down to some descriptions that came from the meeting minutes, from the council's deliberations on this. And essentially it came down to that a subcommittee of the Human Affairs Committee and the Public Safety Committee should be utilized to address the homeless situation. That's about it.
Well, that leaves a lot of leeway.
Utilize it.
It does leave a lot of leeway. So because of that, I think we are definitely starting at an abstract level, and I would recommend that the committee keep it there. There's nothing that says that we cannot propose alterations to the work plan should issues come up with how it was originally constructed. The idea here is that we constantly want council direction on whether the subcommittee is utilizing not only staff time but your time in a manner that is moving in the direction that the council would like the city to move.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that, Adam, and I think you're right. I think splitting it up into different points that are concrete and simple, so that the council can deliberate on those points individually, and then we can get feedback from them and move forward as they direct from there, is a good idea. And so I guess I'd say, as you suggested, having a forum as a separate work plan item from the community coalition, so that they can kind of look at those things separately, along with the performance measure review, receiving input from public safety and homeless services as two separate items. And then to your point about the finished products from this subcommittee, I think that's pertinent, because at the end of the day, we do want to come up with something that we can, as a community, work forward from. And I've spoken in the past about modeling what Dana Point did in 2018 with their community work plan on homelessness, and not to be confused with committee work plans. It's like their city work plan, and there's pros and cons to what they did there. My understanding is they didn't continue on working on it after it was passed, and so it kind of just died, I suppose, after that. But we may have an opportunity at the finish of this, or at some point, once we've received a certain amount of information, to compile something, strategy and action plan for how we want to address it, so that we could then propose to council. And so maybe we can include that in the work plan too, just a formation of a city strategy to address homelessness, something of that nature.
I'll say one last item. Definitely something like that should be in the work plan. But just for the mechanics of the development of this work plan, something that we used in the Public Safety Committee that I think really helped facilitate this discussion and helped focus the committee members' time, is to have in this meeting discuss the general topics of the work plan projects, and then from that we can potentially, if the subcommittee's open to this, form subcommittees, non-quorum groups, to either individually or in teams of two take on those ideas, draft up a proposed or a potential work plan item, and then we can bring those all back to the next meeting, where the committee or the subcommittee as a whole can review them, weigh in on them, make any adjustments that the subcommittee would deem necessary at that point, and essentially deliberate on them at that time. So if that's something that the subcommittee would be supportive of, I'm taking notes of all of the ideas that everybody's discussing. I say keep throwing out the ideas. When everybody's put all their ideas out, we can go back, discuss the ideas again, and if you'd like to assign people at that time, I'd be more than happy to help you out with that as well.
Very good.
Hey, Adam, what about, let's say, the permanent living shelters, the shelters that could be one topic, that we should address? I mean, some cities have them, some don't.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's a question of how we organize the information. I think we've got like public safety as one that we receive input from, and then homeless services, and then the neighboring cities, I think is another one. And so shelters in neighboring cities could be one part of the neighboring cities piece, or it could be a piece of its own. Yeah.
I'm just saying that we should examine the shelter aspect. Is that something we should do or not do? I mean, and we just, I know, Rick, you have some, I know you have some feelings on it, but maybe after we look at this beast, we, change. I don't know. Maybe we go to your way, but I would think that it's something we should look at and determine.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. I think we need to look at it. And I've got a feeling the council has got some of their own ideas about what they might want that to become. But I think in terms of what's been presented to us, it should be part of our overall plan to maybe provide recommendations or a review of options for the council to consider the housing issue. I mean, the shelter versus permanent shelter. Those are two considerations, but a lot of that has to do with just how we're going to go about this whole matter of treatment, and that's a big question, which is way down the line, and I think has to do with implementation.
Well,
So I would just suggest as part of the plan that we identify one subject area being how do we provide for safety and security of the people.
And the reason I was making faces, Gary, is because this is such a hot topic. Look, I mean, at one time I was saying to get around Martin versus Boise, if you want to enforce laws, you're going to have some kind of shelter available because that's what they require. So I mean, I'm still open to some kind of shelter situation. I think to Bill's point, we should certainly put that in the work plan in a broad-based component, sheltering within San Clemente, and then leave it for the some council direction if they want us to look specific things or whatever, and put that back on the council. But I think we need a broad-based sheltering in San Clemente as a component of the work plan, and then don't get more specific than that at this time, maybe.
Okay. If I can just add a couple comments, I think Subcommittee Leffler, you're on the right path there. But as part of this work plan, it would probably be beneficial to not really tuck in a sheltering discussion into some larger thing, but actually maybe have as a work plan item permanent housing solution strategies or sheltering in San Clemente strategy. The council has essentially weighed in on this topic already, and for lack of a better description, the answer was no at that time. If the subcommittee would like to look at sheltering options in the city, it might be best to put that in as its own work plan item and have the council give direct feedback on that. Now, one of the things the subcommittee could do is talk about sheltering solutions, looking at, and then as in the description have in-city and out-of-city. And if the council doesn't like the in-city portion of it, well, they can strike that, and that would give the subcommittee some direction on where to be investigating opportunities for shelter. Homelessness.
Like that. Support that.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, it should be a separate the shelter situation should be a separate component for sure, because there's no place to tuck it in. What I was saying is we keep the language very broad. Don't get specific. I just think you don't want to paint yourself into a corner and certainly go against anything that the council has already decided on. So I think your idea of, sheltering possibilities inside and outside of San Clemente, I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, what are the options? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Well, how about other aspects of it? On the homeless, getting them to move out of San Clemente. I mean, is that something we should, some of the avenues we should pursue for them?
What do you, I don't understand. What do you mean by compel them to move? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, I spoke with the homeless liaison in Laguna Beach and also in Dana Point, and they have I think they call it a homecoming. I'd have to look at my notes here exactly what their term is, but it's they have a thing where they make connection with their families and wherever they are, and try to get them involved and try to get them to accept them back into their families, and it's a whole concept like that to get them to leave, because often they're not from this community, and so it's to get them to go back to where they have family and where they can get support.
Isn't that part of what FAM is doing?
Yeah, Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound.
Yeah,
Right.
Homeward Bound,
Excuse me. Yeah, this is Janet. FAM, it's called Homeward Bound, and FAM is currently doing that for the city right now.
Okay, right. That's what I thought. So it is a program that already is in place. But
Correct.
I think going back to our effectiveness, I think that's one thing we should look at is how many people do they contact? Out of that, how many do they really get back their balance? Not to say that they're doing a bad job. I mean, just to say so the public knows and the council what exactly are the numbers. What's the math here? It'll give them an idea. Not to say that any organization is doing a bad job. So I think they're all trying really hard, but it will give us an idea of what the effectiveness really is. What the expectations can be, and so I think that goes back to that part of the effective. The effectiveness of these organizations.
Okay.
I think there's one other idea that I had about kind of a broad-based work plan, and that would be, and we often see this as part of the permanent housing model, but I think we need to, at some point, inventory exactly what we have available in the city of San Clemente for resources to help people stay out of this condition called homelessness. Maybe once they bridge that gap and are out of that, now how do we keep them out of it? And I think things like what's available in terms of mental health services, what's available in terms of employment strategies, training, that sort of thing. I think we made a list of 10 or 12 items like that we might want to inventory and say this is what should be part of our implementation plan,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe call it something like identification of resources to keep people away to avoid recidivism. Is that the word, gentlemen?
Yeah, that's the word. I mean, as a work plan component, trying to identify all the available resources, I think that's really good, and I don't think it's going to be as daunting as it sounds to actually list everything that we possibly have. I think that's a great idea, and I think a lot of the work will be done when you contact FAM and CityNet and all the other organizations. I mean, they will tell you what resources they have. They have it on brochures, and then I think that's a great idea to make that part of our work plan. Just identify available city resources.
Good.
What do you think, Adam? You're kind of making a puzzled face there.
No, I wanted to bring to the subcommittee's attention that as part of the community coalition idea, as long as we're talking to all the stakeholders, it might work hand in hand to get a list of the resources that all of those stakeholders have. The city being one of those stakeholders, that work plan idea just might be able to house both of those concepts. We're talking about the resources in terms of people, ideas, and physical aspects of helping people who are experiencing homelessness. but it could be two items as well. It just seems like those would go hand in hand.
Yeah, and anywhere you can lump them together obviously is good. We don't want to have too many sectors of this like in the Public Safety Committee, we tried to lump them together and came up with like 5 or something that were, as opposed to having 10 or 12. So I think that's a good, and that's what you're supposed to be doing, Adam. You're supposed to be lumping these together right now.
How you lumps there, Adam? That's good.
Yeah.
Doing a great job.
And I wanted to expand on something. I think that because this came to me actually late today when I was looking over some old notes, and when the Martin versus Boise decision came down, and it was Judge Carter, appellate or district court, that was assigned to overlook how the cities were dealing with that. Yeah, he made comments numerous times how he was surprised and dismayed that cities didn't have a homeless, not only not a homeless strategy, but didn't even talk about that they have a homeless situation and a I don't want to say, it's not a motto. I'm trying to find the right word, but a strategy that they put out in a statement, that kind of like when they read before council meetings, we're a non-discriminatory city that welcomes, blah, 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 which is what they say before every council meeting. And maybe we try to come up with a short statement that, the city, recognizes that we have a continuing homeless issue. We are compassionate, something that just kind of states our philosophy on the homeless, not solutions, but just that we recognize that there is a situation, and we're compassionate. We're addressing. You know what I'm saying? I'm babbling. Does anybody understand what I'm trying to say? If you do, please, Tyler, please say it the way I'm supposed to be saying.
I'm with you. I'm hearing you, and I'm thinking, that's definitely something that we could come out with once we've gotten some community feedback and stakeholder feedback on it, and really just, I think this group is kind of like the rotary wheel that just pulls in from all different facets of the community, and in an effort to put together that strategy. And I think, like you say, there could be like a mission statement or something that
mission statement. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So I think it's great.
And maybe we could make that part of the town hall, task force, whatever we call it. Maybe we could make that an end possible goal, is to come up with a city mission statement regarding homeless.
Yeah, good idea.
So,
yeah.
Cool. Okay. And the one last thing I had, and I know we're dancing around and we're getting everything in. It's just getting them put together. Is still and Public Safety Committee, we're dealing with this also, is the communication among our city resources. And in the Public Safety Committee, we're doing it as far as public safety, and maybe in the homeless situation, we could make sure at least look at if the entities, the OCFD, the OCSD, park rangers, your code people, Adam, and any other that have a stakehold in this, beaches and parks, I don't know, whoever, if they actually have a commonality as far as communication regarding the homeless and their responsibility for it. Again, I know this sounds daunting, but I think when you work through it, it's actually kind of simple. It's just having every entity acknowledge that they do have at least knowledge of the situation and their part that they play in it. And, that's, again, I'm babbling again, but I have it in my mind. It's just trying to figure out how to put it together. But part of my thing, and I know in public safety we're trying to do it, is there's some miscommunication, not by commission, by omission, among a lot of entities in the city. And I'd like to see at least everybody acknowledge when we have an issue and say, we're on the same page, and that's basically what I'm trying to say. And if that could be part of something else, Adam, sure, you know, that would be great.
You know what? That sounds like a standalone work plan idea. And if I could add my 2 cents on maybe how to form it into a work plan proposal, it might be something like a review of the communication and coordination of the city's homeless outreach. And the outreach is exactly as you said. There's CityNet, FAM, the park rangers, OCSD deputies, code compliance officers, the marine safety. There's a lot of people who interact with homeless, and it might be worthwhile for the subcommittee to be able to report its findings on an investigation of how that communication and coordination is done to the city council for their future deliberations on ways to improve that. And maybe some recommendations would come out of that as well. So that sounds like a standalone work plan idea. The ideas from it may very well inform another work plan idea, being the kind of the overall homeless strategy.
Yeah.
I like the way you said it better than I was saying it, so I'll go.
Oh, it's your idea.
I've been writing notes on all this, so I'll try to put it together. So.
Yeah, that was my question.
Anytime, if you'd like me to go through the notes that I've taken so far of the ideas,
Please.
we can just to either get some more juices flowing or look at kind of honing them all into specific categories. So the first idea that I had jotted down was the community coalition. I've put under that resources, in a resources identification or investigation as well. The second idea relates to community forums, and with that comes the mission statement, the city's mission statement on homelessness. The third idea is the bigger picture here is performance measures, but in the context of the subcommittee's discussion, it was specifically related to CityNet, outreach, and FAM services. It might behoove the subcommittee to leave it more general. We may find that there's other performance measures the subcommittee would like to review more than just CityNet and FAM, and so leaving it open might help.
Yeah.
The fourth was comparative analysis, and that was related to how are other cities impacted by and dealing with homelessness, and that I think would stand on its own. That's either something the city council would want the subcommittee looking into or not. The next one was I have it down as presentation and info gathering, and this was related to having particular subject matter experts come to the subcommittee on a regular basis with presentations. It might just be once a year, having somebody like the chief of police services come and present, having somebody from FAM come, something like that. There was a comment about not utilizing staff time, too much on this. I would say, just so that the subcommittee is aware, but from the perspective of city staff, this is one of, if this is not priority number one of the city, it's very high up there. So I would not worry too much about making requests to the city council about things that might utilize some staff time. We spend a lot of staff time dealing with homelessness. So anything that could garner some success in dealing with it, I think this council is going to be supportive of it. This next item was essentially an investigation of permanent housing solutions, but that one I think it would be better to discuss shelter options
Right.
as a whole, that and then identify within it, in the city, out of the city, permanent, temporary, et cetera. The next item is I think one of the bigger items, and it's the overall homeless strategy. It's essentially the product that the subcommittee I think is ultimately tasked with. And then the last item I have is an investigation of the communication and coordination of the city's homeless outreach. And then Tyler, you had talked about the three points, and I think those 3 points are very pertinent. But I think though that they would be more of the overall topics in the homeless strategy, and so I don't know that those 3 points are in and of themselves a work plan idea, but it's more of I guess the beginning of the establishment of the what is the overall strategy going to look at, and we can roll that into that at a later date.
Yeah, and I'd say, just to respond, I think everything I've said has pretty much been wrapped into what you just listed right now. So I feel comfortable with what we have.
Yeah, good.
Are there any ideas that anybody else would like to put on the table right now? We can leave what we'll do today is we'll get a vote of the subcommittee on agendizing the review of the work plan drafts at the next meeting. And as part of that, we can add in and other topics and other work plan topics that may come up. So if something comes up in the next couple weeks for somebody and they go, oh, we definitely should have thought of that as a work plan idea, by all means, individually, that kind of vote would allow you to simply submit that at the next meeting and vote on it. Now, what I'll say is, when I say submit it at the next meeting, I'd like to get drafts to city staff about a week ahead of time so that we can put them in the agenda, publish them online so that the residents and citizens can, and business owners, anybody who's interested, have a chance to review those documents before the subcommittee deliberates on them.
Okay,
So if that seems reasonable, then we can go back through that list and identify the individual or teams of subcommittee members that want to work on those work plan idea drafts.
Yeah.
All right. So the first one, the community coalition and the city's resources, I had that one was actually discussed as something that subcommittee member Bowden and Vice Chair Ewing could work on.
yes,
Does that
that's
still
good.
ring true? Okay. Community forums and the mission statement on homelessness. Who would like to?
Well, I mean, I'll work with Tyler on. I know Tyler. This is kind of his thing. I'd be happy to work with him on that.
Sounds great.
Okay, just so everybody's aware, we have 8 topics right now. If we paired up on each of them, then that should be everybody's involved in 4 of them. So when it looks like somebody's name is too often listed, I'll let you know, just so that we're sharing the workload here. All right, performance measures of outreach.
Well, that was my suggestion. So I'll work on that with anybody that wants to do it.
I'll work with Rick on that.
Sounds good.
Okay, the comparative analysis of other cities' homeless impacts and strategies.
I've actually started, I'll do it with Tyler. I've already actually started doing that with some of the cities, calling them.
Good.
Awesome. I'd love to
Good.
join you.
The presentations and info gathering. Should be straightforward.
I'll be happy to work on that with.
Okay, I'll work with Bill on that.
Good.
Okay. Shelter options.
I'll do that because I think that's going to come into what other cities are doing too. So I think they kind of go hand in glove. So.
I could join you.
All right.
Hey!
All right. So I have subcommittee member Bowden. You are now at 4 items.
Okay.
So just be aware of. All right. The work plan draft dealing with the overall homeless strategy.
Well, isn't that what I brought up for like a motto or something, or a...
No. This was Vice Chair Ewing's idea about a product of an overall strategy, and I think the idea was based on the work, the document that Dana Point had developed.
Yeah, we have developed our own too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one.
Yeah, I'll be happy to work on that.
Okay. Would anybody else like to assist on that one?
I'll help Bill with that.
Good. Okay.
Okay. So let me.
Just one point of clarification on that overall homeless strategy. Could be that that's one of the ones that kind of evolves as we go forward through this process, right? Because we're doing a lot of the information gathering towards the beginning, and then we'll come up with something. But at present, we're just writing the blurbs that go into the work plan, kind of thing.
Yeah, we can kind of list the blurbs, and then yeah.
At present, I would recommend that the subcommittee is essentially just putting together a proposal to develop this type of document.
Okay.
Just to get the council's blessing on doing that.
Yeah,
So
we don't want the document yet.
by process of elimination, the last item, communication and coordination of the city's homeless outreach, that one should be tackled by Vice Chair Ewing and Subcommittee Member Leffler. That way everybody has 4 items that they're working on.
Yeah, because I mean, that last one was mine anyway, so I wanted to jump on that anyway.
Perfect. Okay, so after the meeting, I will send some emails to the individual groups with a template of the work plan, and that way you guys can meet together as pairs, non-quorum pairs, and start working on this. There will be some instructions about timelines and all that in order to get it published for the public's review before the next meeting. So with that, I will ask that the subcommittee take a vote right now on, actually, somebody would have to make a motion and then second that motion and then take a vote. But if somebody could essentially make a motion on taking those 8 work plan items and any other ones that come up before the next meeting to be worked on as drafts and submitted to staff before the next meeting, then I think we would have our direction from there.
Well, I can try to stumble through a motion. You Adam, you know how good I am stumbling through those motions. Well, okay. I move that the subcommittee review the 8 items of the work plan discussed at the meeting today for possible drafts, with the caveat that new items can be added at a later date if identified.
Second.
See, you're good at this. That's good.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be, do you want a date there? How about 3 weeks? Is that enough time?
Well, we don't have the next meeting date, so
That's what I'm trying to get to.
that's not something we need to identify right now. I will send out an email to everybody. We just need to get it published with the agenda for the next meeting. So as soon as we know when that meeting is, I will send out the information, but it's, I'm assuming it would be about a week before the next meeting. So let's take a vote on what we have right now, and then
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman needs to call for a vote.
I call for a vote for the motion.
Okay, I will do a roll call. Let's see, we have,
Yes.
I'll just do this. Chair Walsh,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ewing,
Aye.
Subcommittee Member Leffler,
Aye.
and Subcommittee Member Bowden.
I
Okay, that passes 4-0. All right, the next item on the agenda we can discuss is the item 5B, going back to special orders of business, the consideration and selection of joint homeless subcommittee special meeting date and time. This is to determine the time and place of the next special meeting of the joint homeless subcommittee. I'll let the subcommittee deliberate on how much time they think they need to develop the drafts. Keep in mind that we want to have to meet the council's deadline of October 1st, we need to have the final product submitted to the clerk by October 1st. So at the next meeting, if the work plan document, the proposals are close to finished draft and the committee approves all of them for recommendation of the council, staff would only need maybe 3 or 4 days to finalize it all and then give it to the clerk. So that's hopefully that informs you of the timing a little bit.
Can I ask you a question, Adam? And because Tyler and Bill maybe have already done these, but you sent like a template of the work plan, but they were blank. Have you got any real work plans that you could forward us so we could take a look and see exactly what the kind of the content is and kind of what the tone of it is?
I have not seen any work plans yet from any other committees or commissions.
It is new to all of us. It's a new process, and so this is the first year that we've done it. But there is a draft work plan that our chair has sent out to us, so I can forward it off to you.
That would be awesome. I'd just like to see what it's supposed to kind of look like. Would be really, really helpful. And then also my other question is, part of the work plan template, it talks about projected costs. What do we do about that?
Well, for staff lunches, right?
I would recommend that the subcommittee.
That's good.
Yeah.
If the subcommittee can identify the costs that you would be aware of, I would recommend you add that. If there's staff costs, just write in there will be staff costs because it's going to take staff time. I'll do the calculation on what that cost would be in terms of staff time.
Okay.
Well, I can hardly wait to see what Gary and Bill's costs are going to be on those homeless shelters.
Oh yeah. Almost as much as the lunches we're going to be buying each other. That's good.
That's great.
Okay.
Okay. While we have a second, I can give you the subcommittee a couple days and times that seem reasonable for the next meeting. September 22nd is wide open. September 24th is wide open. If that week would work, I think that gives the subcommittee plenty of time to work on developing the work plan template, working on the work plan drafts, and also would give staff enough time to finalize the product after the next meeting to submit to the clerk by the 1st.
What kind of days of the week are those?
Those are the 22nd is a Tuesday and the 24th is a Thursday.
I think around 3 o'clock. Is that what we're thinking?
That would be fine. Noon would work as well.
Either of those dates work for me.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
do
I'm okay with either one too.
Yeah, me too.
24th at 3.
24th at 3?
Okay, 24th at 3 o'clock, okay.
Make a motion that our next meeting be on the 24th of September at 3 p.m.
I'll second that.
Okay, call for a vote.
And what are you calling this group now? I mean, officially?
This group is the Joint Homeless Subcommittee. Okay.
JHS.
Chair Walsh on a vote for the next meeting being Thursday, September 24th at 3 p.m.
Aye.
Chair Ewing,
Yes, aye.
Subcommittee Member Bowden,
Aye.
and Subcommittee Member Leffler.
Aye.
All right. Okay. The next item. The next item on the agenda is unfinished business. There's none of that. Following item is reports of committee members and staff. Does anybody have anything to report?
No.
Staff has nothing.
I just have a comment. I want to say, Adam, thank you so much for all the work that you're putting in to this and everything that you do. It's just much appreciated, you and the rest of the staff, all the time and effort you put into this. I really appreciate it.
Here, here.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Janet and I are very excited about our role here in assisting the subcommittee on what we anticipate being the hard work ahead. All right, so with that, the last item on the agenda is the adjournment. And so somebody just will need to make a motion to adjourn and then state the date of the next meeting, which is September 24th.
Move to adjourn to our next joint homeless subcommittee meeting on September 24th at 3 p.m.
Second.
Second.
Call for vote.
Chair Walsh,
Aye.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ewing,
Aye.
Subcommittee Member Bowden,
Aye.
and Subcommittee Member Leffler.
Aye.
All right, thank you all for your time.
Thank
Hey
you all.
guys, good talking to you, and let's just put some of these thoughts down on paper, and we'll touch base here with our joint people, and we'll get this thing done.
Do we have copies of